Kansas City Chiefs 25, Bengals 17. Chiefs move to 10-6. Bengals fall to 8-8. Bengals fall out of the playoff picture. In this one, Bengals had control early. It's a similar game to the Raiders. I think Romo even highlighted that. It was 17-7. Cincinnati after a Patrick Mahomes strip sack. Bengals really long drives. It was another one of those games where the Chiefs' opponent seemed to be controlling the ball, and you never know if Mahomes is actually going to get back on the field, have an opportunity. But the Chiefs' defense, man, after they get down 17-7, Chiefs' defense just shut it down after that. And then the Chiefs' offense, Isaiah Pacheco with a huge game, creating big plays as a runner. And then offensively, the passing attack, they actually stretched the field, maybe for the first time in weeks. A 41-yarder to Justin Watson, a 67-yarder to Rashee Rice. Better downfield passing production than we've seen from the Chiefs in years, actually. And it was just those two passes, but that was a big difference in this game.
Yeah. Early in the game, like Jake Browning was making it work with his legs. So I think the Chiefs' defense was playing well pretty much all the way through the game, but Browning kept finding a first down on third down with his legs and was extending the drive. And I think that was a big part, actually, of how they got up. Like Jake Browning played pretty well, but so much of it was done on the ground. And then, this was another game where, for some reason, the run game was king this week. Like multiple games where the running attack was a big part of it. Isaiah Pacheco was huge in getting the Chiefs back, both on the ground, but he also made a couple of plays as a receiver as well. So huge game from Pacheco. And I don't know if they sort of reacted to the game that Mahomes had last time, finally having a bad game of trying to lean on something else, but Pacheco certainly stepped up.
I was going to suggest maybe I wonder if Kansas City was going to lean on the run game more, and leaning on the run game for them, I know that they're ever going to have a game where it's like 30 carries from their running backs and 25 dropbacks from Patrick Mahomes. But I did wonder if they were going to go more heavy two tight end sets or try to run the ball a little bit more. And again, it wasn't even that they ran the ball a ton. They just did it really, really well against the Cincinnati defense that's just they've been struggling, man. They've been struggling these last few weeks, especially against the run without DJ Reader.
Yeah.
And some of those big plays that were given up, like the Rashee Rice 67-yarder, it was a nice play by Rice and nice pass by Mahomes. It was a straight coverage bust. It was wide open. There was a couple of those by the Bengals. So I think part of this was Chiefs offense feeling better against a bad Bengals defense. They still didn't put a ton of points on the board. They got stopped and had Harrison Butker, it was some kind of record, man. He kicked the last he had the last 18 points of the game, whatever it was, all on field goals. 1, 2, 3, yeah. The last 6 scores of the game were Harrison Butker field goals. That was some kind of record.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, it still wasn't the old school Kansas City offense, but a lot more big plays. I just wonder how much of that was Cincinnati. Next week, the Chargers. We'll see how much they play their starters, the Chiefs, but definitely better than what we saw on Christmas Day against the Raiders.
Yeah, Kansas City's pass rush was pretty big in this game. I don't know how much of it was, like, obviously the Bengals' offensive line therefore struggled relatively, but I think a lot of it was Jake Browning holding onto the ball and age and making it look worse than it maybe was. But Kansas City was winning that matchup anyway, and then I think it got made to look a lot worse because of the way Jake Browning was holding onto the ball, which to a degree he needed to do.
Yeah, this was a game where I think Jamar Chase was talking trash before the game and the whole thing, and they did a nice job taking Jamar Chase out of it. And by the end of the game, it was like Browning just needs to give those guys an opportunity to make plays. Like you said, early in the game, Browning, why did he have to use his legs? Because Kansas City's defense has just been so good at taking away easy throws with Spags, especially this year. Last year they did some of that too, but it's just been high level, and they took that stuff away. But Browning would scramble, create plays. He had a Mahomesian type of play where he scrambled and drew the defender and threw it behind him. I mean, Jake Browning creating out of structure, he was doing it awesome early, but after that, Kansas City cracked down, and it felt like Browning did need to start taking a few chances, especially in the comeback attempt, but that got shut down. Chiefs defense has really kept them in every single game this year.
Yeah, the Chiefs Twitter account, I think, was tweeting this out, but L'Jarius Sneed now has been targeted 81 times this season, no touchdowns allowed, giving up a passer rating of 55.9 into his coverage this season, allowing just under 52% of the passes thrown his way to be complete, and they're only going for less than 10 yards per catch. Like, L'Jarius Sneed is playing pretty insanely and has had a couple of spectacular games in recent weeks against good receivers. He seems to step it up when he's facing the best players. Like, his best games of the season, grade-wise, are against Philadelphia, Buffalo, and now he's just coming off this game against Cincinnati. I think he had a good game against the Raiders, but he got penalized for a penalty. But he did a good job of shutting down Devontae Adams as well. So Sneed has been playing incredibly well.
And yeah, I think the combination Sneed, what they're able to do with their corners, and Spags. Calling blitzes, he has that feel for when to heat up opposing quarterbacks, when to sit back, how to mix it up. When Chris Jones, quick wins up front that's gonna work when you're not blitzing. They're feeling it right now. I think Kansas City's defense, and that's what gives them a chance.
Yeah. Another like the development, I think, of George Karlaftis has been pretty important.
Yep.
He played all of the snaps last year and because of that, got quite a lot of pressure. Like, he ended up with 8 sacks, I think, almost 50 pressures, including the playoffs. But it's like he never won. It was all cleanup or pursuit or late in the down. Like, he never actually had a clean win. It was just he was always on the field. So he was going to stumble into quite a lot of pressure. And he is like a hustle player. He will get a lot of pressure just by keeping going. Long enough, you give him long enough, he'll get there. It might take a week and a half, but he will eventually get the pressure. It's not that he's become great this year, but he has taken a step forward from last year. So now he's already exceeded all of his numbers from last year, including the postseason run. He has more pressures. He's got more sacks. He's got a better pass rushing grade. He is winning now. So even if, like, the majority, probably, I haven't checked the distribution, but like the majority of his plays are still of the kind of hustle, late in the down, clean up variety, he is winning on his own now. And sometimes those are important plays. But the point being, just that jump from like body that will get some cleanup pressures to actual, complementary piece that can rush the passer in his own right is a pretty significant step for this defense.
And that might all, with how quick, because again, I don't know, Chris Jones doesn't have 19 sacks or whatever like he did last year, but he still creates quick pressure.
Right.
And so that combination of having at least one guy win often, and when they both win, that's when you see the collapsing pockets and inability to do anything offensively from a pass game perspective.
Because they're not getting anything. Remember, they drafted FAU, Felix Anudike Uzoma in the first round. And he hasn't been a factor for them, even though he looked like a guy that could potentially make an early impact. Like, they need George Karlaftis to take that step in order to have that complementary pass rusher to Chris Jones.
One other thing I wanted to highlight was Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Been a hot button issue for the Chiefs with all the drops and near misses and the whole thing. He has 3 targets in this game. They're all a bit of a story to me. First one, they're taking their deep threat, who's not really great after the catch, put him into the backfield, doing the, motion him into the backfield and giving him a little swing screen in space for 3 yards. It felt like it was like, let's give him the easiest catch ever and just kind of get his confidence up. And so they did it. And I think it was designed. It was in the script. It was it was one of the first 15 plays, I believe. And then it's a 3rd and 3. He comes wide open on a drag route underneath, and Mahomes gets him Mahomes under pressure, puts it on him on the back hip though, and he drops it. And Valdes-Scantling starts gesturing. You put it on the wrong hip to Mahomes.
Your fault.
Should have caught it. It was on the back hip instead of the front hip, but it's a drop. Should have caught it. But then, as I always say, the most valuable thing a receiver can do is to win one-on-one down the field. And he does that. And Mahomes just missed him. Mahomes came back and hit a deep ball right after that. But as the Chiefs started to stretch the field in the second half, Valdes-Scantling has a step or two on doesn't matter.
It's usually DJ Turner.
It's usually DJ. A step or two. And this is like, I still think there's this world where Valdes-Scantling, like, you can't drop 80% of the downfield passes. You could drop 50% or 40%, but not 80%. Valdes-Scantling has a deep play in him. It might be in the playoffs. So I'm just saying, he is running away from the defender. He's still capable of doing that. And I think it's the most valuable thing a receiver can do. Mahomes missed him on this one. And if he puts it on him, there's at least a 50-50 chance he catches it.
At least a 50-50.
At least a 50-50 chance he catches it. So that's just something to keep an eye on. There's still big plays to be had there with Valdes-Scantling. I don't think it's a total loss, but the Chiefs were trying to get him involved. It didn't work in this game. Got to keep working at it. Rashee Rice, though, he's still looking like a star. Isaiah Pacheco had a big game. Kelsey, he's been in and out this year, but again, I think he's still capable. I think the Chiefs have the pieces. If this defense plays the way they've played, it's still the Chiefs going into the playoffs.
Yeah, you can see sort of how fragile they are, though, mentally.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I think it was the Marquez Valdes-Scantling, the drop. Like, as soon as that happened, like, Kelsey's going over there to him on the sideline, like, talking him up. And you're like, what have you got left to say at this point? Like, you've been doing this literally since week 1. Now, okay, it's been to different people every week sometimes, so it's not like it's one guy all the way through. But, like, how do you keep... What is your motivational message at this point? Like, come on, guys, we can pull it together now. Maybe. I didn't see what he was saying, but I would like to have heard the audio of that message.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like things were falling apart for the Chiefs, right? They're down 10, and Valdes-Scantling's dropping it. They keep settling for field goals. But, the defense shut down Browning in that passing attack. They couldn't do much after the first half.
Yeah.
Got no more use for this game.